Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope everybody's having a great day. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the key features of the newest version for Midjourney, the digital art software AI creator, version 5.1. Now, previously, Midjourney was running on version 5. We're going to be looking at some of the key differences in 5.1 and also looking at some test images by utilizing the same prompts in 5 and utilizing the same prompts in 5.1, comparing those images and looking what the key differences are. Now, remember, it's important to know that your prompts are also very important. We talked about how to create different prompts. You can see that on our YouTube channel by utilizing different types of AI services, such as a prompt language model like ChatGPT. But talking about Midjourney 5.1, we're going to be talking about some of the creativity that it brings, especially if your prompts maybe aren't up to par quite yet. So talking about that, let's get into it and let's look at some of the test different images that you can see here. Let's bring this down for you. We'll pop this on the screen. First, let's talk about some of the key differences that we do see in Midjourney 5.1. And really quickly, if you guys have Midjourney, you can actually just in the Discord, the way that Midjourney does run, you can go to //settings, and that's how you can adjust the settings for Midjourney. You can see 5.1 is now highlighted here. This is just a screenshot of what it looks like, and these are both going to be utilized in our comparison at base quality. Now, some of the big things that are noted in Midjourney 5.1 are enhanced coherence, improved accuracy and response to the text prompt. So whatever prompt you actually give it, just improve accuracy of actually creating that. And what I mean there is you could say, a man selling a, newspaper, and it could be a man holding a newspaper, or it could be a newspaper sales company. You could have different things that are creating. There's more improved accuracy in the actual prompt that you do give it. One big thing I have noticed is sharper image quality. And also there is this large thing that everybody is talking about is that V5.1 is more opinionated like version 4. What I mean by here opinionated, especially interesting here to call it AI opinionated, what this technically means is basically if you give it a prompt, Midjourney will create more of what it wants to, and that is in a way of saying you give it a straight prompt, but it will change and give you types of options and kind of branch out in its own way. A good example of this is, say, if you ask for a portrait, you could just get 4 straight photos of some straight portraits that are slightly similar. If it is more opinionated, Midjourney is actually going to do more creative, different types of, I want to say, abstract work with those pictures, and you can have different viewpoints, you could have different people, different ages, and we're going to be looking at those key differences, and you can definitely see that more opinionated feature that is here in the test images. So let's pop them up. First, we're going to be showing you guys the same prompts, and let's bring it up on the screen for you. So the first one we talk about here, this was just a man skiing. Now, talking about this with just a man skiing, what's interesting about this, especially with just a man skiing, is these photos are pretty realistic. You can see already here in a sense. So what I mean by that is the water looks pretty clear. You can see that same landscape is in the background, but this is Midjourney V5. Now, what you do see here is a lot of similarity between that prompt. Now, that's a simple prompt to say, but what I mean by that is the water is typically about the same quality, around the same color. You do have that same kind of blurred out green landscape in the background, and you do kind of have some similarities among all of the actual guys that are skiing. They're all wearing life jackets, and you could say they're all kind of around the same general age. We are seeing the skis. They are not completely created yet. It looks like these guys are actually skiing on wakeboards right here, and the actual orientation and the daytime, the lighting, a lot of things to consider in these photos that are being created. The lighting is relatively similar, and they are more straightforward. Some have a slight angle. Now let's change it to see what V5.1 brought out from Midjourney. You can see here is the exact same prompt, and now you have V5.1. What you do have is you can see the opinionation, or the more opinionated, and also that sharper upgrade that we have seen. Especially right here, you can see with the skiers, all we said was a man skiing. You have 4 different types of scenery now, of 4 different times of day, and also different types of quality, more retro style kind of pictures. You can see up here in the top left, or here in the bottom right, you have a modern one here, kind of in the bottom left, and then you have more of a pretty sharp one with an older man here in the top right. Also, key differences that you do see beneath and built between these images is you have a large difference in age groups. You have a younger man here, middle-aged man, and an older man up here in different orientations of the body. You can see, especially with that opinionation, you have them showing different types of characteristics, and you also have them displaying different types of behavior or different types of movement. Interesting to see there, especially one that looks very realistic is this one up here. If we were able to actually remaster this, sharpen this up, and improve the quality to the top, this would look pretty clear, and especially the feet look pretty good here. The definition looks pretty good here. This would be a great example of a vintage type picture, and this would be more of a great example of a modern type picture, and this guy looks like he's actually wakeboarding. So great differences that you can see there. The next one that I do want to talk about right here, this is a kid throwing a basketball. Now, I was actually really surprised to see here that with a kid throwing a basketball, you can see the actual photorealism. This is Midjourney V5. So you see some great realism. However, what you do see is this almost looks like the same kid right here. It's actually interesting to see. And this, you can see are different orientations. The basketball right here is kind of in an odd spot, but not a horrible spot. Otherwise, the basketball is in a pretty decent spot for most of these kids right here. But what you can see is that they kind of look similar in nature. What I mean by that is the kids are relatively around the same age, they're relatively around the same size, and the actual scenery is pretty much similar. It looks like they're all in some type of basketball court, some type of actual park, or some type of just kind of concrete flat pad landing that you can see right there. In the lighting looks somewhat similar. One thing we are seeing with version 5 though is the orientation is slightly a little bit different, but let's see a kid throwing a basketball in version 5.1 and you can see some large key differences right here. Just going back and forth, you can really see that more opinionated upgrade. What I mean by this is you can see these are all different types of kids that are in completely different sceneries, and Midjourney 5.1 went really on the oddball right here, creating some very interesting artwork. You can see here, looks like this kid's throwing a basketball in the middle of some type of post, I don't even know, some type of post-war back shot, light shot with a dark hue in the background. You have more of an abstract one up here in the top right with kind of that similar backsplash. And then you have here, it looks like a kid is throwing more in an underdeveloped, more in kind of a third world country, throwing this basketball up into the air. And more of this is more of an abstract artistic type picture. One thing that I do notice between though, just the kids right here, even though these are more photorealistic with V5, what you are seeing here in 5.1 is a lot of sharpness within the images. What I mean by that is you can see here this basketball is very sharp, and it's also right here you can see a lot of sharpness and contrast between these two pictures. Great to see here that the sharpness is actually being improved with the new version. Now the last one I did want to talk about here is a dog jumping in the air. Now with the dog jumping in the air, what we are seeing, especially with these simple prompts for Midjourney V5, is pretty photorealistic images. You can see they're not abstract in a sense where they're not almost artistic. They almost look like just realistic photos. And what you are seeing here, you can see this with the man skiing, you can see this with the kid throwing the basketball, and you can see this with the actual dogs jumping in the air. You do see a pretty photorealistic image. However, like I said, you are seeing kind of that same lighting, that same type of atmosphere, scenery, and also that same kind of expression and motion. You can see the dogs are almost all in the same position in all these four photos, and they're almost facing all the same orientation, which is looking straight at the camera. Now, if we compare that to a dog jumping in the air to V5.1, you already see that highlighted sharpness in the increase in quality just with the base 4 images that Midjourney does give you. You can see different types of orientation. This dog is slightly twisted here. This dog is more up on its 2 legs, where these dogs are up on all 4s. And you can see this dog is showing more of its teeth. This dog is not. They're all showing different types of basically expressions, and the scenery is slightly different. This one looks like it's falling from the sky here. This one looks like it's jumping off of a trampoline. This one looks like it's jumping in some type of dirt dirt pile. So you have many differences here where the scenery is more, I want to say, similar in V5. So I would definitely agree, especially with V5.1 with Midjourney, that we are seeing again that opinionation across the board with that enhanced coherence, that improved accuracy, and also you're seeing that sharper image quality. Definitely with that sharper image quality, what we do possibly have here is that V5.1 is actually going to basically be a successor of V4. And by the end of the week, by the end of this week, provided everything goes smoothly, there will be partial refinements to V5.1 and possibly even a V5.2 update in the future. So really great here to see the actual evolution of AI right before our eyes. And I'm going to keep you guys at that. If you guys want to stay tuned on all of the new updates that are happening, not just with Midjourney and AI art, but with anything within the AI industry, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.